Hello everybody. I thought I would do a part 2 on my brain tumor experience. First I'd like to discuss how I knew I had a brain tumor. And here's the thing, I didn't know. When I first moved to my current location, I'm not going to say where, but I had some feeling, it felt like it was my heart. It was very uncomfortable. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't describe it. It didn't hurt. It was just uncomfortable. But I also have Lyme's disease, so I suspected that it was something regarding inflammation around my heart or my brain, because I have a different opinion about the Lyme's disease than do my doctors. I believe that chronic Lyme disease exists. And I've also had Epstein-Barr, which is even more exhausting. But on to my subject of the day, and that's the brain tumor. So I didn't know what it was, so I was very uncomfortable, and I used to get that feeling all the time. And so I went by ambulance to the local hospital, and they x-rayed everything but my brain. And that's the part that I needed to have x-rayed. Why? Because there was a big tumor in there. And so back to my story, my symptoms. So I kind of would get I didn't know what they were at the time, but a couple times, like one time I was talking to my mom on the phone and I just could not talk. I was like, ah, and she's like, what is it? What is it? Is there somebody there? And I'm like, no. I mean, I couldn't say what it was. And it was very awkward because I'm never at loss for words. And then the feeling passed, or whatever it was. And then I had another episode, which now I know was another seizure, and I couldn't speak. And now I know because of the location of my tumor, which was a left frontal lobe, that's where my language is stored. That's the executive functioning, is your left frontal lobe. That's where all your memories, language, emotions, all the good stuff reside. So that was another one. And then the granddaddy of them all is going up the hill to my friend's house for a Bible study. And the last thing I remember was there was some deer in the yard, and I was pointing that out. And then my friend Marla said I had a seizure. She says I seized up, and I was foaming at the mouth, and I was fiddling in her drawer for some cough drops or whatever it was. So then when we got up to the hill, I just remember feeling really sick to my stomach. And I remember her and a paramedic peering inside my window, and they're like, you need to go to the hospital. I said, nah. And she's like, no, you need to go. You just had a seizure. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they did an MRI, and that's when they found this big tumor. And I thought, oh my gosh, wow, that's a very large tumor. So, then they transferred me to my hospital, which was the Portland VA Medical Center, by ambulance, and they discovered the tumor. So, yeah, pretty large. So the first step was to meet with the neurosurgeon. I had to have an appointment with him. And, first they had to get an MRI, so that's what they did. They got another MRI, and then that's when they saw the tumor. And then I met with the neurosurgeon so that he could interpret the MRI, and they said if it was a stage 1 or 2, they were just going to monitor it. And I was assuming it was, was going to be a 1 or 2. So then I was kind of shocked when he said it was a stage 3, and I thought, whoa, that's a high-grade tumor, because it only goes up to 4. If I'd had a stage 4, it would have been a glioblastoma, and that's what John McCain had, was a stage 4 cancer. And that's deadly if they don't operate, depending on where it is. Luckily, mine was one that they were able to get all out. I was told it was a rare cancer, and that they didn't have any studies, so I was kind of freaked out. Well, I kind of had it in I kind of left it in God's hands. I really didn't make a decision whether I wanted to live or die, I just said, well, I'm just leaving it in God's hands, because he knows. He knows the day I'm going to die. So, but here I am. I'm 54, and it's 2.5 years later, and I'm still here. So, but some other symptoms. I also get a periodic headaches, and sometimes they go on almost daily for months. But they're very short-lived, and they're very kind of specific. They usually come on in the middle of the night, and usually I get up and I take half of an Excedrin migraine, and by the time I get up, the headache's gone. So that's something to consider. And I do get periodic seizures. So my last seizure was in November. And Mom said I just wasn't making any sense when she was talking to me on the phone. And she says, I'm going to call an ambulance. And it's lucky she did. Because she kept saying, I was like, they. She goes, they who? And I don't remember doing that. So and she called my friend Marla. And luckily she did, because Marla said I opened the door, and when I did, she said I put my hand over my face, and then she said I went into a big seizure on the floor. And then she said by that time the ambulance arrived, and she said I had 2 more seizures in the ambulance. I don't remember the situation. I actually blacked out, which was very scary. Yeah. And apparently I woke up and my mom said I was violent. I was trying to bite them and calling them cops. And I woke up and they were trying to give me a shot of something. And so I was trying to bite them, but I don't remember any of this. I just remember waking up and trying to put I was trying to put my thumb on his knee. Anyway, it was not good. So yeah, I also have a very poor memory, and I have a lot of difficulty, as you can see, with word finding, and that's ultimately frustrating to me because I'm an educated woman, and normally I know the right words to say, but I find that with this tumor situation, it's affected my memory pretty badly, pretty significantly. I remember when I got out of the surgery, I had a severe headache. And I remember that my memory was horrible, and that I thought, who rearranged